Hi friends, good evening. Welcome to Ashoka Online Academy. This is Dr. Harinath Reddy. I teach Indian polity and constitution and also governance, which form part of paper 3 of TSPSC Group 1 mains. TSPSC Group 1 mains. So as all the students know, in the TSPSC Group 1 mains exam, as per the new syllabus, there were 6 papers in the mains exam. Paper 3, it has got 3 sections. Under the first section, section 1, it deals with the society. Second section, it deals with Constitution of India. And the third section, it deals with the governance. So TSPSC Group 1 mains exam, paper 3, it has got 3 sections. Section 1 deals with the society. Section 2 deals with the Constitution of India. Section 3 deals with the governance. So I will be teaching Constitution and Governance, which is part of paper 3 of TSPSC Group 1 mains exam. So to introduce myself to all the students on this platform, that is Ashoka Online Academy, I have been teaching in several other platforms like Law Excellence IAS, Narayana IAS Academy, 21st Century IAS. I have earlier taught even at a Hyderabad study circle. I myself have my own study circle with the name Shankaran IAS Study Circle, and I am the director of the institute. So today in this particular video, we will try to discuss what shall be the strategy of the student to score better marks on Constitution and governance. Remember, the notification for a TSPSC Group 1 exam, notification for TSPSC Group 1, it is coming almost 7 years later. After the new government came to power, that is after the bifurcation of the state of Andhra Pradesh, that is after the formation of the state of Telangana, in the last 7 years there was no new notification for Group 1 exam. There is some disappointment, there is some discontentment among the students. Despite all this, 2023 is going to be an election year, and now the government will be compelled to give you a notification for Group 1 either this year, or if not this year, in the worst case, notification will come for sure next year. And it doesn't matter. The reason being, those who want to prepare for Group 1 exam and those who want to clear the exam, they need adequate time. So because the syllabus for TSPSC Group 1 is very huge. When you compare with APPSC Group 1, in the mains exam, APPSC Group 1 had only 5 papers, TSPSC Group 1 had 6 papers. And even the syllabus in the prelims exam, the TSPSC Group 1 syllabus is much wider compared to the syllabus of APPSC Group 1. So for a student to clear the prelims exam, to clear the mains exam, and to reach the stage of interview, he has to take a minimum of at least 6 to 8 months by putting in the best effort. And it is also said that the coming notification does contain a good number of posts like RDO and DSP, and it will be going to be a very good notification for the entire period of 7 years. So those students who are very serious about getting into RDO or DSP must start preparing for this exam well before the notification comes. The reason being, the syllabus is very huge, and the syllabus, it's almost equivalent to the UPSC exam syllabus. Even in the UPSC exam, there are only 5 papers, but for TSPSC Group 1 mains, there are 6 papers. The syllabus of TSPSC Group 1 mains is almost the same, equivalent in terms of size compared to the UPSC Group 1 mains exam. So the students, to get better comfort and greater ease with the syllabus, and to internalize the concepts and analysis of the syllabus and to take the mains exam well, they need to put in sufficient efforts, and this needs every student to start their preparation much early, much well before the notification comes. Otherwise, it's very difficult to give competition to the students who are already in the market. And in addition to this, then the next question is, what shall be your strategy for a TSPSC Group 1 Mains Paper 3? As I said that I will be dealing with the polity and governance, Constitution of India and governance. If you see the questions which have come in the recent APPSC Group 1 Mains exam of December 2020 and even TSPSC Group 1 Mains, which is a re-exam which was held in 2016, the questions are of very good standard. Most of the questions are not straight questions. They expect the student to have conceptual clarity, good analysis and application of mind. And so the students, they need to read a lot, get greater clarity with respect to the concept, and they shall also be in a position to add much analysis, and also they need to apply their mind, because some of the questions which come in the exam, they need your application of mind. The questions are not straight. Most of the questions which have come in the past, especially 2016 remains of TSPSC and December 2020 APPSC Group 1 Mains, the standard of the questions is very close to the UPSC. So it's not that easy to handle these questions. The student must know the basics very thoroughly, they must know the concepts very thoroughly, and they must know how to interlink the subject and apply the mind. So keeping that in mind, in the course on polity and governance which I am going to start in Ashoka Online Academy, my strategy will be something like this. Indian polity and constitution and governance, identify where do you have this syllabus even in the UPSC exam. For example, constitution and governance, it is part of civil services mains exam, GS paper 2. Similarly, you also find polity in the political science optional, you also find polity in the law optional, you find a polity and governance even in the public administration optional. So if the student, if he can carefully go through the questions which have come on polity, which have come on governance in all these papers, GS paper 2 of civil services GS mains exam, political science optional, public administration optional, law optional, if you can go through the questions which have come on constitution and governance in these areas, in these subjects, and if you are prepared for these questions, then your preparation will be very thorough, because I have picked up the questions from all these 4 different areas, from political science optional, from public administration optional, from law optional, from GS mains of UPSC. I have collected the questions from these 4 different subjects which are relevant to our syllabus. And I am going to explain every question in detail with basics, concepts, analysis, interlinking with current affairs. So I will be helping the students to cover all possible types of questions in the final exam. The students must also remember, in every paper of the Group 1 mains exam, those questions which are tough, and those students who are able to answer these tough questions will be having an edge over the other students. In the 6 papers, if 3 questions which have come in each paper could be answered by the students, then they will be well ahead of other students. So the focus of the students must be to answer the tough questions. When a student can answer the tough questions, he must cover the syllabus very thoroughly. You should not prepare only part of the syllabus. Then you cannot be the best among the students who take the mains exam. So if the student wants to get an advantage and edge over the other students, his preparation must be thorough. He must cover the entire syllabus. he must be mentally prepared to handle any type of question which can come on the syllabus. So if your level of preparedness is to this extent, then you will be in a position to answer even the tough questions which the average students cannot answer. That will take you to a very advantageous position. And I can also tell the students, in the TSPSC Group 1 mains exam, as there are 6 papers, those who do extremely well in the written exam, in the mains exam, they don't need to depend much on the marks in the interview. They don't need to depend much on the marks in the personality test. So if your score in the mains exam in all the 6 papers is very good, then getting even average and below average marks in the personality test can get you an RDO or DSP. Because many a times in the personality test, there is no guarantee that you will end up with a very good score. So that's why if you want to reduce your chances of not getting RDO and DSP, then you need to focus on the written exam. Prepare in the best possible manner. Try to get as many marks in the written exam. Then even with little marks in the personality test, you can get into the cream post like the RDO and DSP. So that's the importance of the mains written exam. So each of these 6 papers in the TSPSC Group 1 mains exam, if you can do extremely good, with a little dependence on the marks in the personality test, you can get through the exam, get into an RDO or even DSP. In addition to this, if you see the questions which have come in the past, remember, as per the new syllabus of TSPSC Group 1, no exam was held so far. The exam which was held in 2016, it is as per the old pattern of syllabus. By then, polity had a weightage of only 50 marks and there was no governance in the earlier syllabus. But now, even earlier there was no society. In the new syllabus, there is a section on society, there is a section on governance, and polity is being continued. So earlier polity is for 50 marks, even now polity is for 50 marks. But earlier there was no governance, but now you have governance. So if you see the questions which have come in the past, see the first question. This is a 2016 remains exam. Most of the questions, they are concept based and they need the application of the mind of the student. The questions are not straight. So why I am saying this repeatedly is, the students must identify the pattern of the questions which have come in the recent mains exam. It can be APPSC Group 1 mains or TSPSC Group 1 mains of 2016. This will help the students to plan better for their preparation and to handle the coming mains exam in a more easier manner. See the question 2016 remains exam of TSPSC. See the first question. Explain the significance of the preamble to the Constitution. Discuss whether the preamble is a source of constitutional power. So significance of preamble and whether it is a source of constitutional power. So this is not a straight question. It needs application of your mind. So there were a number of judgments relating to preamble, like the Keshavananda Bharati case, Berubari Union case. You need to bring in all these cases while discussing about the preamble. Then discuss the scope and nature of freedom of speech and expression in India. Explain the emerging dimensions of the freedom. See, free speech has multiple dimensions. For example, freedom of speech of the members of the parliament is much wider compared to the freedom of speech of the ordinary citizens. And regarding this, there are a number of judgments of the Supreme Court. In addition to this, unlike a number of other fundamental rights, right to freedom of speech is not an absolute fundamental right. It is subjected to a number of limitations. You need to bring in all these when you explain the answer for this question. Similarly, discuss the right to legal aid and whether it is a fundamental right or a directive principle of state policy. Here, In the Indian Constitution in part 3, which deals with the fundamental rights, we had one important fundamental right under Article 21, a right to life and personal liberty. So the Indian Supreme Court, through its creative interpretation, has held that the right to life, fundamental right to life and personal liberty includes within itself fundamental right to legal aid. So the original Indian Constitution did not speak about right to legal aid as a fundamental right, but it is because of the interpretation given by the Supreme Court, a right to legal aid became a fundamental right. You need to discuss all of that. In addition to this, see the next question. Discuss the scope of special provisions for backward classes and a test to determine backward classes, difference in the scope of provisions under Article 15.4 and 16.4. So when you write answers for such questions on backward classes, it's better if you bring in the committees related to backward classes. We have Kalelkar Commission, then BP Mandal Commission, and recently there was one amendment, 102nd Constitutional Amendment Act, which has conferred constitutional status to the National Commission for Backward Classes. Till recently, National Commission for Backward Classes was a statutory authority, but in the recent past, the 102nd Constitutional Amendment Act has conferred constitutional status on National Commission for Backward Classes. So when answers are written for such questions, you must bring in the committee names, you should bring in any amendment in the recent past, and you should link the current affairs to the static part. That will give you better mark. Then similarly, the next question, discuss how far the 42nd Amendment introduced clauses 4 and 5 to Article 368 prevents judicial review of constitutional amendments. So 368, Clause 4, Clause 5. See, Article 368, it deals with the power of Indian Parliament to amend the Constitution under Article 368. In one of the important cases in 1973, called Keshavananda Bharati case, a 13-judge bench of the Indian Supreme Court said, the power of Indian Parliament to amend the Constitution under Article 368 is not unlimited. It is not absolute, it is limited power. Parliament cannot amend the basic features of the Indian Constitution. To overcome the judgment of the Supreme Court in Keshavananda Bharati case, 42nd Amendment was done, and through this amendment, 2 clauses were added to Article 368. Clause 4 was added, Clause 5 was added. What does Clause 4 says? Parliament can amend any provision in the Indian Constitution, including the basic features. In Keshavananda Bharati case, the Supreme Court said, Parliament cannot amend basic features. But Parliament wanted to overcome the judgment of the Supreme Court in Keshavananda Bharati case. Accordingly, an amendment was done, that is the 42nd Amendment, and Clause 4 was added. Clause 4 says, the power of Indian Parliament to amend the Constitution is unlimited. It can amend any provision including the basic feature. That is Clause 4. And Clause 5 says, any such amendment which is done by the Indian Parliament cannot be challenged in any court of law. In other words, the 42nd Amendment took away the power of judicial review of the Supreme Court to look into the Constitutional Amendment Acts. In other words, any Constitutional Amendment Act done by the Indian Parliament under Article 368 cannot be questioned before the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court cannot extend its power of judicial review. That's what Clause 4 and 5 deal with. And this amendment, Clause 4 and Clause 5, which were added, were struck down in 1980 in another case called Minerva Mills case. And the original position was restored. What the Supreme Court said in Keshavananda Bharati case was restored. So in Minerva Mills case, the Supreme Court again repeated that the power of the Indian Parliament to amend the Constitution is limited, it is not unlimited. So that is the answer which you need to be written for this. And again, this is not a straight question. You need to bring in whatever is necessary to answer the demand of the question, which means after having learnt the subject, the student must be in a position to retrieve the information from his memory which is necessary to satisfy the demand of the question that the student has to master. Then the next question, discuss if the right to vote is a statutory, constitutional or fundamental right. So this came even in the UPSC prelims exam. We had a Representation of the People's Act, we had Article 324 which deals with Election Commission of India and the conducting of elections. You need to bring in Article 324, a Representation of the People's Act to answer this question. And similarly the next question, see the 14th question, it is said that the basic structure of the Constitution is a myth. Explain with the help of post 1973 constitutional amendments. So this 13th question and 14th question, they are linked. That is, both were on Article 368. In fact, there were two questions on Article 368. So doctrine of basic structure is very, very important in Indian polity and constitution. Questions have come repeatedly even in the UPSC mains exam in the general studies. They have come in the optional political science. They have come in the law optional. They have also come in public administration optional. So the student must identify which areas in Indian polity and constitution are important for the mains exam. He need to focus on them. For the mains exam, it is not necessary that you need to read whatever is there in the syllabus, whatever is there in the books like Lakshmikant. No, not required. You must know, the student must know where a question will come, and for that he need to be prepared. So there the teacher will help you what to read and what not to read, where to focus and where not to focus. So this question, as I told you again, Keshavananda Bharati case, the doctrine of basic structure was set by the Supreme Court. And remember, the Supreme Court did not clarify what is basic and what is not basic in the Indian Constitution. As a result, always there is a dilemma for the Indian Parliament what to amend and what not to amend. For example, the recent amendment, 99th Constitutional Amendment Act, which provided for the establishment of NJAC, National Judicial Appointments Commission. In both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, this amendment was passed through unanimity, but unfortunately in 2015, in the fourth judge case, this amendment was struck down on the ground that it violates the basic feature of the Indian Constitution. So there were problems with the doctrine of basic structure. That is the question in the exam. Then critically examine the implementation of the 73rd and the 74th Constitutional Amendment Acts and how far these amendments were effective. And you know, these two amendments were done in 1992, more than 2.5 decades got over. The 73rd and the 74th amendments, they aim at empowering the local self-governing institutions in this country. The question is very straight here. What is the question? But answering it is not that easy. In the last more than 2.5 decades, what is the status of implementation of the provisions of the 73rd and the 74th amendments? Here, the students must bring in the recommendations of the second ARC. Second Administrative Reforms Commission has submitted 15 reports. The 6th report, it is on local governance. So if you read the report on local governance, you can write a beautiful answer when it comes to the status of implementation of the 73rd and the 74th amendments. So what are the provisions which are implemented? What are the provisions which are yet to be implemented? Again, this is an analytical question which needs to be answered by the student by collecting the information from the reports like the second ARC. Then again, discuss the constitutional provisions regarding state formation. Is a constitutional amendment necessary to bring a new state into existence? This again is a very relevant question. In 2014, under Andhra Pradesh Reorganization Act of 2014, Telangana, a new state was formed. The question is, what is the procedure prescribed in Indian Constitution for forming the new states? Do you need a constitutional amendment under Article 368 to form a new state? Not necessary. An amendment to the constitution under Article 368 is not necessary to form the state. Here you can bring in some of the judgments related to state formation. So again this question is a beautiful question. See the next question. Is the conduct of free and fair elections a basic feature of the Indian Constitution? Yes. Free and fair elections is a basic feature. This was said in Raj Narayan. There was one important case decided by the Indian Supreme Court, Raj Narayan versus Indira Gandhi. In this case, the Supreme Court said free and fair elections is a basic feature of the Indian Constitution. So you need to bring in case laws like this as part of your answer. Then discuss the significance of the role of Election Commission in the conduct of free and fair elections. Article 324 deals with Election Commission of India, and remember, though the Chief Election Commissioner and other election commissioners are appointed by the Union Government, the removal of the Chief Election Commissioner is not in the hands of the Union Government. If you want to remove the Chief Election Commissioner, he can be removed only by the Indian Parliament, the two by a special majority and a tough majority. So in both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, a majority of the total membership of the House and 2/3 of the members present and voting shall agree for the removal, which means the Chief Election Commissioner is a guaranteed security of tenure, and he is given autonomy and independence. And remember, it is because of this autonomy and independence, Election Commission of India was able to ensure free and fair elections in this country in the last 7 decades. One important reason for the success of Indian democracy is the role played by Election Commission of India. So the work of Election Commission of India is appreciated across the globe. So these are the questions which have come in the past in 2016. So like this, we can also discuss the questions which have come on Indian polity in December 2020 in APPSC Group 1 mains exam in a separate video. So that's it for today. So I would request all these students to begin your preparation as early as possible for the TSPSC Group 1 exam, because the syllabus is huge, both in the prelims exam as well as in the mains exam. It takes a lot of time to understand the syllabus, to internalize the syllabus, and to reproduce in the exam, in the mains exam. So all the best. Thank you.